Hello and welcome to TBR Football. I'm your host, Brendan Hodrien. Today we are talking with iconic striker Emile Heskey. Nice to have you, mate. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. And yourself?
Smashing. England played well over the weekend, so
Yeah.
bit of a feel-good factor around here. I say around here. I mean, the rest of the country, Liverpool doesn't really care, but I'll pretend to get involved for everyone. So, which England players stood out for you during this international break?
So far, Grealish. I think he's taken to it like a duck to water. As I knew he would, to be honest. Played trade with him, so I know what he's all about. Watched him over the years, know what he's capable of doing. So it's been great to see him actually fulfilling that, especially within the England setup. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I thought was good. I think he's done really well. I know a lot of pressures, especially on that number 9 shirt. A lot of pressure there to score the goals, but he went out there and performed and did that. Scored on his debut, which was great. Mason Mount is another one who's doing what he's. I like seeing him play. I love seeing him play. Plays in several different positions and gives you 110% all the time. But gets in them positions where you can actually get on the half turn and then start creating and driving with the ball. So I think between them, I think it has been good.
I mean, with there's so much competition for places, I want to drag this just a slightly away from England for now. You mentioned Jack Grealish and just how impressive he's been for England, how impressive he's been at Aston Villa. A two-parted question here. Do you think that he will make a big move? And do you feel that he needs to make that big move to really assert himself and grow at an international level?
I don't think he needs to make that move to grow at the international level, to be honest with you, because again, I think with Gareth at the helm, I think he's showing that as long as he knows what you're capable of doing, as long as you keep him fit and as long as you're showcasing it within your club, he's fine with that. I think it's more for Jack himself. Mentally to showcase and for himself to showcase whether he can actually do it at that highest level on a consistent basis. He's showing that at Aston Villa, but can you do it with the better players demanding that of you as well? So I don't think it's a case of he needs to move to cement his England place and be in the squads and be in the team, etc. No, he doesn't, because I think Gareth understands that and knows where he is.
I mean, all the talk about if Jack Grealish were to make the move, the one club whose name just keeps coming up is Man United.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that would be the right place, or should he be looking further afield?
It is. It's a tough one again because they keep buying midfielders, so
Yeah.
they just keep packing that midfielders with the same players. So are you just going to go up into there and just be another number in that midfield? Or are you going to go to a club where you can see the progression, you can see what they're trying to do, and you can see where you fit within that. So it's an interesting one that he's got to really evaluate and have a look at.
Well, another one of the players who impressed you at internationals over the weekend was Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and now, given his form for club and country, there's been suggestions that he could be England's number 9 ahead of Harry Kane. Now, where do you stand on that debate?
I think he's done fantastic, and he's really putting pressure on Harry Kane. I don't think Harry Kane has had that pressure for a while, but I think he's putting that pressure on, asserting that pressure on Harry Kane. Do I think he's ahead of Harry Kane at this moment in time? No. Do I think he can be? Why not? He's got the ability. You see, when he came in, he wasn't in awe of anyone. He wasn't. He took to the game. He was showing up for the ball into feet. His layoffs were good, and then he gets on the end of a cross, wins the header, and scores a goal. So everything that he's done has been fantastic up to now. So yeah, it's great to see him putting pressure on Kane, but I do see Kane ahead of him at this moment in time.
I mean, it's not the system that England play at the moment, but can you see a world where they work out alongside each other? Because personally, for me, the start of this season, we've seen Harry Kane really developing around his game. He's starting to drop deeper. He's bagging more assists.
Mm-hmm.
Calvert-Lewin's been more of an out-and-out number 9. He's been, scoring every type of goal. Do you think in future, with them both in such fine form, we would have to figure out a way of playing them alongside each other?
We've got so many good wingers as well, so it's difficult to actually get everything into one. So Gareth loves the 3-4-3. At this moment in time, we've seen if you want to get 2 people up, he's got to play the 3-5-2. But again, so where does Marcus Rashford come into this? Where does Raheem Sterling come into this? So we're overlooking certain players that we probably should have in the team as well. So it's going to be interesting, but it's great to see how many players we've got going forward that excite me, really.
I mean, it's a good problem to have, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a good problem to have when you've got to figure out a way of just playing one centre-back. And that's 4 left wingers, 3 strikers. But another player who really needed a good international break was Jordan Pickford. Mm-hmm. Because, as us Liverpool fans like to joke, he's only got little arms, and we've seen that a lot this season. He's cost Everton a few goals, and people were starting to question whether Dean Henderson should be stepping into the England number 1 role. Do you think that Pickford's done enough over this international break to hold down that position?
Look, I think Gareth has actually said that he's his number 1. So, and that's one great thing as a player, is if you can have your manager backing you and saying that, yeah, coming out and backing you, which is great. But again, you've still got to go out there and do it, and he's shown that he's done well. But again, he's got Pope and he's got Henderson knocking on the door, so he needs to pick up his performances on a consistent basis with his club, with Everton, because you never know if someone's going to jump ahead of you.
Do you think that in Gareth Southgate's mind, it's as long as you're performing for England, I will always pick you? Or at some point, does he have to say, this is not fair on Dean Henderson, how well he's playing for his club, and he's not being given that opportunity just because Pickford hasn't made an error yet for England?
I think it's a bit of both. I think you've got to be looking at the consistency that you've got for your club. Even though for the country you're doing really well and you're probably not made mistakes, but if you're coming into a camp and you've made a mistake, you've made a couple of mistakes on the bounce, I think that plays a role in where the manager's going to go as well.
I mean, it's not only the Pickford, Henderson, Pope debate at the moment, because they're stacked with talent there. But England have this really peculiar scenario where we've got about 9 different right backs. I mean, like, if we look over to France, they've got 10 or 11 amazing young centre backs coming through, and over here we've got, Trippier, James, Trent, Wan-Bissaka. Mm-hmm. I'm sure I'm missing people out as well, but Kyle Walker. Do you think with the stack of talents that Southgate has there, at some point he may be tempted to try Trent in centre mid?
I know Trent played. I think he was a centre mid before, wasn't he? So he's got the ability. I think he's got the ability to play in there, but I can't see that happening. To be honest with you, I can't see why you would want to, when you've got these abundant of midfielders playing in there. Why would you want to move someone from right back into there and ahead of your own dominant midfielders? So no, I can't see that happening. One thing I will say is Trent's better in a four in a back four than a wing back. To be honest with you, you see the best out of him in there. But yeah, it's interesting if he can actually adapt to that wing back role that Gareth seems to be favouring.
So what is it do you feel Trent is lacking at the moment for a wing back as opposed to playing in a back four?
I think the funny thing with a wing back, you have different responsibilities. With a back four, you actually know where you want to be and where you're standing, how your body shape and everything. Whereas with a wing back, it's a little bit different in a sense. But again, you need the talking. So your right-sided centre back needs to be talking to you constantly. And telling you whether you need to be back in, whether you need to be higher. And at this moment in time, I don't think they've got that communication down packed. Whereas at Liverpool, it seems to be they've they've got that really cemented.
Do you think that's an issue with Trent positionally, or more just because you don't get to play that often with these players at England and you can't build that communication the same?
I think he's playing and doing it as often as possible with the players that you're going to be doing it with, so they understand that you need to be tucked in and you're screaming at them, and the communication is spot on. At this moment in time, it doesn't look like it's spot on.
Well, fingers crossed they'll get that resolved by the next break, and fingers crossed that next break isn't for at least another 18 months. Or knowing our luck, it'll be next week. Thanks for joining us as ever, Emile, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.